number one reason why I see people fail is because they avoid the sales process. It's virtually impossible for them to actually build business. Every single no is one step closer to a yes.
If you're someone that either consciously or subconsciously is actually scared to get rejection, or you're not confident, it's eating away more at your confidence, isn't it? What you would be looking at for an inner closer, so they can take this away of like, this is what they need to work on.
Yeah, even as a practice, I don't speak about this. What I'm not looking for is someone who's just...
Here we are then. So we're live with the Sales with Callum podcast, and I'm very, very excited for this episode because Ryan is actually someone that I've been very connected with now since being in the online industry and the coaching industry. And I think it's crazy. I'm sat here right now looking at his neck, and he is literally, the tattoo that he's got on his neck is the exact tattoo that I had as my old business logo. It's so much synergy. But I want to get into this and to share that with Ryan, his journey's been incredible. I've been watching his journey, and he's now currently a full-time business and mindset coach living out in Bali for the last 2 years. And you actually run something incredible out here as well. So if you ever come to Bali, he runs the Bali Men's Brotherhood out here, which is just incredible to see the journey you've gone on. But the intention of this podcast today is to dive into how you've been able to create that freedom. Obviously, you run the Freedom Creator business. How you've been able to create that freedom for yourself through utilizing learning how to sell. Because I know that sales has obviously been a big part of your journey. And now obviously you're utilizing them skills now to build a massive impact in this world. So I kind of want to say just firstly, very grateful for you coming on this podcast today as well. And my first question to you, Ryan, and obviously give some context of your story. But my question is that how important has sales been on your journey to creating freedom and to creating your Freedom Creator business and now living out in Bali?
Well, I think I'll start by saying that throughout my kind of early years in any kind of work, I just kind of had this belief of like, I'm just a sales. I'm a born salesman. I've had multiple different jobs in sales, from kind of customer service, auto dialer selling, Sky Protect insurance. When I was 18, I done horse tipping, cold calling people to gamble for me, which was like, I got an estate agency for 2 years, and then my career kind of moved, done door to door.
Yeah.
I done selling like B2B, selling SIM cards to businesses. And then I kind of spent the last 4 years prior to being coach in a business development role in recruitment consultant.
Wow.
So like all of my career. Oh, and also I've done a travel agency, backpacker ticket sales, like prospectors on the street. We're still at running boozy bingo in a hostel, selling tickets to events. So I've had like all of my career has been revolved around selling of some kind, because it was kind of my natural skill set around like, I'm just good with people.
Yeah.
I'm just good with people. So get me with people and I will figure out how I sell for them. And I think coming into the coaching space with that background has been the catalyst of why I have been able to succeed the way I've able to succeed, because I come in from that foundation. And what I see, especially with my own business, so the context, the Freedom Creator Academy is helping coaches, creators, consultants turn their skills into an online business so they can grow and scale that into a freedom lifestyle at its core, right?
Freedom lifestyle,
really. And my business is called Freedom Life Masters. So like my highest level is freedom, travel a lot, live to Australia. But really what I see is that the people that come into the entrepreneurship space without a foundation of sales, it's virtually impossible for them to actually build a business.
It's hard enough with no one.
Literally.
Not alone without it.
No, literally. And I recognize it in my own journey. I recognize it in other people's journeys, especially kind of like when you are coach, consultant who's selling transformational offers, you don't have a product. You're not selling widgets. You're not selling tangible things. It's your experience, your transformation, you serve. And that in itself is hard enough. And yeah, I really think that without the background I had, I would never do well at that. And the number one reason why I see people fail is because they avoid the sales process.
Yeah.
Because most people don't want to experience rejection.
Yeah.
They don't want to experience the feeling of someone saying no to them and no to their experience, no offer. So rather than actually getting to a position where they're booking sales calls and taking sales calls and getting no, they just won't do the stuff to get themselves into the position to even sell, because they don't experience the pain or not being able to sell and it rejects it.
Yeah.
That's what I see.
100%. And I think it's that element as well. You know, a lot of our listeners at Sales with Callum are either wanting to get into the space of sales, remote sales, or they're already in sales, but they just want to take it to that next level. But if you are, say, a coach as well, and you're in the coach industry, you're running a business, like, don't forget how important it is to sell. Because I can vividly remember when I was at university studying business management, I was sat in a lecture and the lecturer was teaching us business. By the way, he invested thousands to go to that university to be there. They didn't even run their own business themselves. And fast forward 3 years at university, I got myself a 2-1 degree. Sales was mentioned once, and I'm like, from me and you going through our journey of like living more of a freedom life and building a business, I'm like, how do people try to build a business without learning how to sell, or at least having someone in their team that is an A player in sales? But it's hard to attract the right people in your business as well if you don't know how to sell yourself. Because we mentioned before the fact that, you know, in terms of building a business, leadership's really important.
Yeah.
And I think learning how to sell is very important when it comes to leadership. But I want to rewind that to, you mentioned the fact that you used to do door knocking.
Mhm.
And door knocking is a brutal game. It is a brutal game. Like direct sales in person. Like my first experience of doing that was out in Magaluf with events. And, you know, I was speaking to people that were hungover, that were hanging, that's been pestered by loads of other people. And it's the same with the doors.
It's like, not that guy, not that second server. Yeah, you know, mate.
That's it. What's the day? That door knocker. So I want to ask you, like what were for you, like going through door knocking, like what were your biggest lessons that you learned from doing door knocking, which has now led into you being able to build what you've been able to build?
It's funny because I done it in about 3 weeks, and I put it on my CV, but I needed the CV 3 months as like building resilience.
Yeah.
And it was this whole kind of like, the whole mentality of like every single no is one step closer to a yes. And you have to live with that because it's so demoralizing.
Yeah.
So demoralizing. Getting high top, getting out there, and getting out on turf and being there like 6 hours of like, right, now I've just got to walk around on my own, hype myself up enough to go into that conversation to do it, and then to use that to actually sustain that of faith rejection. And it was such a pivotal like part of my journey. Even though it was short, I learned so much from it, because even this round, like the most unlikely people in that space, see.
Yeah.
So you come and go into that space like, right, I'm a confident guy, I'm big, I've got a presence, and I can smash this. And you've got the most unassuming person next to you. And they would come back and be betting you, like, how the fuck has he got that? And what it was for me is now like really understanding around the psychology that you're approaching the sale with. Because I remember it was door to door, in Australia, we was doing Origin of an energy, so it was an energy transfer.
Yeah.
And we had this whole pitch, but it was very much around body language. Right, knock the door, you stand back, you make yourself the professional, and then you lead into it, and you point behind their shoulder to go get their scripts and stuff, or go get their bills.
Yeah.
And it was such an art form that my boss would do it, like watching. I was like, how has this guy just done that?
Yeah.
And it was so dialed and so, it was like, it was so interesting for me to witness, and then it was very difficult for me to actually do because of the internal barrier in my mind of like, I don't want to look cringy. I don't want to look like. And it was the people that kind of just remove any self-judgment, any part of that, and just follow the process. They would come out and print money. And some of the guys are printing cash. Yeah. By printing so much cash. And yeah, I think it was just a really interesting one. One of the most embarrassing parts of that, in Australia, they have fly doors. So you've got to do this script. It was very much body language. And sometimes they'll open the door, but there'll be 2 doors. And one of the doors will be, you can't see through.
Yeah.
So I'm doing this, talking to a door, and I can't even see the person. I don't know if I'm looking at them, if they're a little lady or they're a big man. I'm just talking to this door, doing this thing. And it was like, it was visceral. I feel it now, like viscerally, so cringy for me at the time.
Yeah.
But again, it's the people that just kind of remove all of those self-limitations and just relentlessly follow the process. they would print cash.
Yeah.
And it was just a real distinction around me of like, the only reason that I'm finding it hard is because of how I'm approaching it. It's not, the evidence is there. The money's there to make. The leads are there to make. There's an abundance of people.
Yeah.
It's not the product, it's not the service. It's how you are showing up in that space, which is affecting the results that you have.
Yeah.
Which carries into all areas of sales, especially what we're doing now.
Yeah, I love that. I think what you shared then as well that I want to like dive into a little bit as well is what you shared about the fact that the ones that smash it are the ones that almost are like, it's almost like you're outside your body and you're not taking it so emotional. Because I don't know about you, and I want to find out about your experience as well, because I think it's so good for the listeners, because they know you're going through these challenges now, right? So I think it's really important to hear our experiences as well, so they can resonate and they can learn and grow. And I can vividly remember, like, I guess if I go back to my childhood, I used to care what people think a lot. I was anxious. I was always worried. I wasn't that confident, right? So if I used to think that I wasn't confident when I was younger, and then getting into the sales world, and then you get no, you're knocking on doors, no, you're approaching people, no, you're going in for a close, no, it is rejection, 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 rejection. And if you're someone that either consciously or subconsciously is actually scared to get rejection, or you're not confident, it's eating away more at your confidence, isn't it? And it wasn't until I realized this, and I want to share this right now, it was the moment when I made the decision, I was like, it's not personal. Them saying no to you, saying no to me, saying no to you, usually isn't about you. It's about them. It's their own personal stuff that they're going through. It's their own internal limiting beliefs. For instance, you're in the coaching world, right? There may be someone on a fool that really wants to make it in coaching, and they may really want to work with you, but they may deep down believe that they would be able to get the results. So why are they going to invest thousands if they subconsciously feel like there's not a chance that they're going to get the results? They're not good enough, right? Not being good enough is one of the most common beliefs. So you've got all of this to work with other people. So it's when I realized that and I started getting the rejection, it become a gain to me. When I first got into sales and I got rejection, it hit me. Have you ever felt?
Yeah. I've got an interesting relationship with rejection, which we can talk about after.
Oh, okay, we can talk about that, Attic.
Yeah, I've got.
Dive in now. Yeah, please.
So my business was stuck for 2 years. So when I was a recruitment consultant, and when I was like, I was an estate agent, but I went from like 0 to like the top at negotiating one of my offices within 18 months. So like no experience, so getting back-to-back promotions and going to the top because I was selling a house.
Yeah.
Right? I was like, cool, bang, that's nothing about me. Bang, 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 bang. And then in recruitment, I had the exact same trajectory, right? It was like I went from 0 to top billers club within the first 12 months because what I was selling, it was outside of myself.
Yeah.
It was like, I'm not getting rejected. My company get rejected.
Yeah.
Right? It's not about me.
Yeah.
So in an employment status or like a business development role, where it's not about you, it's okay. But then I moved into coaching, and for 2 years, my business was stuck. I made a bit of money, but I would rely purely on inbound leads. Yeah, I bought into this narrative of like, right, attraction marketing, cold DMs, set outbound is icky, no one buys that way. And I invested heavily into that process. I remember attraction marketing. When 2 years in, I was like, how the fuck am I still stuck? Yeah, how the fuck am I looking at my thing? I don't know what to do. And I realized it's like, oh shit, I think I've got a fear of rejection. I've done personal development. And then what it stemmed from was that when I was 16, I was on the book to professional football, Brighton Hove Albion, and on the book to professional cricket at the same time. So like my reality was like, I'm either going to be in football or I'm going to be a cricketer.
Yeah.
My last set.
Yeah.
I'm the fucking dog box.
Yeah.
And then I got released on Brighton. I remember it so clearly. I was like on tour with my football team. We were in Prague. We just played Sparta Prague on tour. And we sat in the training room. I got a call and my aunts told me they're released. And like, I was frozen in time. And he was like, bam, you're the good enough.
Yeah.
You lived in this reality of like, you are the fucking dog's butt of everything is amazing. You could, like, anything you touch throws a goal. Bang, you're not good enough.
Yeah.
And that shattered my self-worth. But then in business, what it meant was that I was avoiding getting into the sales conversation because I didn't want to be rejected.
Yeah.
It was happening. I attracted back to what, okay, in my life, in girls and relationships, in my party days, like how I would respond to rejection, I would avoid it at all costs. I wouldn't approach girls, like all of these stuff. I'm like, oh my God.
It stemmed from that.
It stemmed from that, and it played out for like 8 years. But then when it became my service, my business, my transformation as a nutrition coach and high performance coach, I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I actually was able to reframe this fear of rejection in my psychology to a process that I take my clients through now. And the second I've done that, I was like, hang on. I was just messaging people, booking calls and having calls with people, pitching my offer. And then within about 10 weeks of figuring that out, I had my first £10,000 cash collected and I moved to Bali.
Wow.
So it was like all of this growth was stagnant because I was sinking, like building skills. But the fear of rejection was the inflection point. As soon as I could be sat, I went bang.
And for our listeners, if they've got fear of rejection or, not feeling good enough or that they're going to be able to make it happen, like, how did you overcome that? What did you do? What did you go through so they are able to go out and implement that with themselves so they can get to that next level? How did you do that? How did you overcome it?
Okay, without going too deep into this, because this is it's like in a game kind of, from a service level perspective, it's around reframing what it means. Like reframing what's the two things. Reframing what has happened to you, and when you believe that you've been rejected, so you go back, exactly what you said around it's not about you, it's about them. Yes. Go back into every single situation and write down when you've been rejected and how that has actually served you. Because we only perceive that as a bad thing.
Yeah.
It's a perception of like, I had this thing that happened to me, so therefore I don't want that to happen in the future. So the fear is only a future-based event that isn't real. Yes, it's correlated to your previous experience. So I'm feared to get rejected because I got rejected by them.
Yes.
Right? So you can, instead of like trying to force your way through, if you literally go back and list out every single rejection ever faced, whether it was in class at school, whether it was my football club, whether it was from a girlfriend you had, with a business partner, anything small that you feel I've projected in that point, and therefore I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy enough as I am, you reframe now by this is not a bad thing.
Yes.
This is actually served me in all of these ways. And then by doing that, you remove the future-based fear.
Wow. What Ryan has just shared then is insane. It's funny actually, on my with my sell blueprint with on my academy, what we have is I have a reframing exercise, and it's the exact same as that. But I do all the reframing exercises for like, I guess more like future based, moving forward with the different. If you have a sales call and it goes awfully wrong, rather than because the problem is when a sales call goes awfully wrong, it's so easy to take that negative energy into the next one, into the next one, into the next one, and you end up getting nowhere.
Yeah.
And that's why it's really important to reflect on it. If you look at, the best Scotland teams in the world, their managers are watching their game, 5 times, 10 times, 15 times. They're watching every game. They're analyzing it. They're watching their competitors. How can we do it better next time? They're not turning that loss into a negative energy. They're like, how can I turn that loss into a win to move forward so we can do better? And what you shared then, I just sat there thinking to myself, do you know what? I actually should do that.
Everybody should do it. And yeah, mate. And it's a constant practice.
Yeah.
Because it's not like, oh, you do it once it's gone. It's you do it once to unlock new level. And then there's another thing. And it's like, oh, I'm still reluctant to expose myself to this next level of rejection. Because it's like how high you can raise is how much you can be seen.
Yeah.
And how much you can be seen is based on what tolerance you have to that new level. And if you believe that that new level is then going to expose you to more levels of rejection, that, again, for me, it was still another thing. It allowed them to be free. And then I was free and I was stuck on this roller coaster. And I was like, I had to do the work again. I'm like, I'm still reluctant to face some sort of rejection. So there's still a rejection kind of tolerance that I haven't overcome yet.
Yeah.
To still do the input. That instead of void, I do just enough.
Yeah.
I feel it's like the other part of rejection is around reframing. And there's a book that Andrea Waltz is called like Go for No. Really good book. And it's around like, we will do the minimum amount of rejection that we need to get the results.
Yeah.
Right. So what that might look like is around like, right, I need to knock 5 doors. I need to knock 100 doors. It's easy math.
Yeah.
100 doors to get 1 yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So in order for me to get 1 yes, I need to do 100 doors. Right. So that means I've got to get 99 no's.
Yeah.
So the flip of that is like, rather than going for the 1 yes, if I go for the 99 no's, I'm going to get the 1 yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
To me, because otherwise, as soon as I get the 1 yes, I'm going to stop.
Yeah. But you might get more than one.
If you go for the 99 no's, you might get 5 yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But if you go for 1 yes, you're going to get, as soon as you get a yes, your motivation's going to drop because you've got enough.
Yeah.
So there's like, go for no's of theory and say it around like, if you set your no's of like, I'm going to go collect 10 no's today.
Yeah.
10 end of conversations, 10 follow-ups, 10 close. I'm going to close 10 people on my pipeline, either as a sale or as an unqualified lead or a not right now. If you go adapt the new barrier, then the byproduct of that is making you flat to say.
Yes. Wow. That's huge. It's so good at flipping that mindset of, rather than going for the yes, going for the no's, and get excited about the no's, because every no you get, I know it's cringy, but it's true. Every no you get, you are one step closer to a yes, right? You're moving forward as long as you reframe it.
Yeah.
Because if you don't reframe it as a positive, it's just going to get, you're going to get wounded and wounded and wounded. And then that leads to inaction.
Yeah.
Then the inaction then leads to no results. The no results leads to confidence issues and problems. And then you've got your friends and family telling you should get a steady job. You should get a salary. Why are you sure you should be doing this business? Are you sure you should be doing sales? And then you're like, oh, actually, yeah, you're probably right. But keep getting no's. But it's actually, no, you're not getting enough no's.
Yeah. And that was super profound lesson for me. And again, like I'm saying in my place of understanding, but it's still a constant practice for me. Like I could give them right now, I've got a list of about 100 people that I need to reach out to.
Yeah.
But now it's like there's 100 people there, which feels like a lot.
Yeah.
If I had 5 people, that's easy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, even now, like with me saying like where my business is at and the relative success that I've achieved, it's still a practice.
Yeah.
It's still an evolution of that, because it's still part of me that still doesn't want to go into that because of that projection, but I'm way further than what I once was. I'm not living with the sense of like, I don't care at all.
Yeah.
It's just my tolerance to no has gone way higher.
Yeah.
Because it's not about me.
Yeah.
Which is what you said, come back to your point, right? It's not about me.
No.
It's about their current situation, their belief system, their reality, their current, what's going on in their life. But I need to make sure that I'm showing up in that space with conviction, with certainty, with a product that I believe in, and making sure that I do everything I can in that moment. And if I don't, then reflect someone now and taking responsibility where I can, not from a place of, fuck, I shouldn't have done that, of oh great, that's an area for me to improve.
Yeah. No, I love that. And a bit of a growth challenge for all of you set by Ryan today is to go away and actually reflect on, is there something you feel like that's holding you back, whether it's fear of rejection, like you get emotional when you get that no, whatever it is, procrastination. Go back to your past and just really reflect and think of your past experiences of when you procrastinated or when you got that no or when you got that rejection, and reframe it. Because like, as an example, from an outside perspective, if you look at Ryan, if I was to go back in time and be an outsider and see Ryan that, he got released from becoming a professional footballer. At that moment, Ryan would have only thought that his life was destined to be a footballer. So then when he got released, that happened. However, now in the future, if Ryan in that moment could see his future of him living in Bali, having Bali Brotherhood, having the Freedom Creator business, filming podcasts like this, if you knew that then, you would care.
I'd ask for it to happen.
Yeah, you would.
It's like, I miss the thing, right? You would. All of these things, you've got a split of like, there's something that happened to you right here in talking, and whatever, this is always present. So you've got a fantasy that you want your life to be like,
yeah,
and you've got the reality.
Yeah,
right? So it's like almost, and then the flip side of that is like how to let go of rejection as well. Like if I wasn't rejected and the thing that I wanted happened,
yeah,
what are the drawbacks of that happening. So it's like, yes, there's all the benefits of happening from me getting released, moving to Australia and finding my purpose from coaching and meeting my partner and building these businesses. I can stack those wins like no tomorrow. But then there's also like, oh, hang on, if I did make it as a professional footballer, I wouldn't have been able to switch around it.
Yeah.
I would fucking, like, it might look from the outside, but turns out now I don't even like football.
Yeah.
So that it wasn't my fifth.
Yeah.
Like, and it was like, I would have lived the life that wasn't my own. So it was like, there's all of the reframing you could do to be able to look at that specific moment in time and be so fucking grateful that that is the exact thing that's helped you, that's moved you to becoming the man, becoming a human being that you look at and wake up every day, Bowie.
Yeah, I love it. And it's like, for me, I experience the same thing. And I want to share this with you because if you're in this moment right now, which we clearly both, me and Ryan both been, if you're going through that moment where you're like, everything just seems to be going wrong, life isn't working out, you're in this lower energy, this lower frequency, and you go on social media and you see people living this amazing life. I can vividly remember I went from this party boy living out, at university in Mallorca. Then I went and traveled in winter, Thailand, India. I was loving life at a very young age. And then it all come crashing down. And I ended up having to move back to my man's house because of national lockdown. I had no money. I had no job and I couldn't go back out to Mallorca. And I ended up going from, traveling Thailand and, sorting out party events to packing boxes at Amazon. And that moment, I felt so sorry for myself. I was in low energy. It was the point in my life where I don't think I've ever been depressed. So I would say that was the moment in my life where I was the lowest.
Yeah.
And that was when I was the most down and was when I was packing boxes. I felt like a robot. I just wanted to be traveling. I just wanted to escape, which is never good when you just want to escape. And that is how I felt. But now looking back, I'm like, wow, I am so grateful that has happened. I would not be filming this podcast right now. I wouldn't have met you. I wouldn't have met my girlfriend. I wouldn't have met all the amazing people that I've met. I wouldn't have been able to get the results that I've been able to get to my clients because I don't think I would have ended up going down the coaching route if that all didn't happen. Because of national lockdown, I got absolutely addicted to education. So I just want to say I'm really grateful for you listening to this and just to say, like, well done for listening to content like this because this is the start. This will change your thinking. This will change your awareness, which is going to change your action, which is going to change your results. And fast forward a few years, who knows? I'll be interviewing you or Ryan will be interviewing you. And this is how it worked. I can vividly remember I was actually listening to a guy named Liam James Collins on a podcast. And then 2 years later, I was interviewing it. And this is how this world works. When you start getting yourself in new environments, that's when your life can change. But I want to ask you a question because a lot of our listeners are in high ticket sales or they want to get into high ticket sales. Obviously, from you now being a perspective of someone that is a coach that would be hiring a high ticket closer, I want you to share with our listeners, because this is one of the biggest challenges I've seen in the high ticket sales space, is a lot of people struggle to find good offers and a lot of people also struggle to even land the offers. So I want your perspective of being someone that would be hiring a closer. I want you to share what you would be looking out for in a closer. So, they can take this away of like, this is what they need to work on to land themselves, a freedom-based role like what you can offer.
This is a really good question, right? Yeah, it's good for me, even as a practice, I'm going to speak about this.
Yeah, this is quite cool. I thought of it.
Yeah, if
It was powerful.
I'm like, the first things of what I'm not looking for, right?
Very
But
important.
like, what I'm not looking for is someone who's just going to show up, take calls, and not give a fuck about me, my business, and the revenue, and just showing up to see it as a paycheck.
Yeah.
And I've had codes in the past, and it felt very risky for me. I didn't trust them enough. Obviously, you think it, well, but I trust you completely, right? And that's a trust base. So, but what I would love, like what I would really love to, or as from a higher perspective, is number one, actually knowing that sales, your number one focus outside of selling is getting better at sales.
Yeah.
I need to know that you're dedicated to mastering the art and craft of high ticket sales. And high ticket sales is not, so high ticket for me, selling transformational offers is a different art and a different science to selling different products.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's so many beliefs and the transformation side of things requires a massive amount of empathy and a massive amount of compassion, but a massive amount of integrity and leadership. Because if you've never investing into mentorship or coaching, there is no possible way that you can believe deeply at your heart of hearts that this modality or this thing is in this person's best interest, because you don't fucking know. You've never done it. You've never been on the other side of that decision.
Yeah.
Of saying that this decision makes no fucking sense to the rest of the world right now, but I know in my heart that it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And I don't give a fuck about how much money it costs me, because my goals and my light and my values and the things that I desire are worth more to me than a temporary bit of cash.
Yes.
Right? You have to have that level of conviction. That's why one for you is that I know you've invested over 50 grand into your development. So you know the influence of that.
I am fully sold by mentors. And to give you some context, myself and my business partner, Jordan, obviously we run Sales Growth Club together. We're essentially training high ticket closers and we're building remote sales teams. And myself and Jordan have actually come in to Ryan's business as well and building him out a remote sales team for him to scale and grow his coaching business. Because this is the thing, this is the beauty of high ticket sales, is the world is going online. And because the world is going online, there's going to be so many more coaches and there's going to be so many more agencies. And there's only so much as a coach or an agency that you can do yourself. Otherwise, they'll end up being a bottleneck to their own business. So therefore, there's a massive opportunity now in the world that if you become an A player in high ticket sales, whether that's appointment setting to start with and then transition into a closer, there is going to be an abundance of opportunities for you to actually get to. However, in regard to that, you mentioned the fact that you want them to invest in themselves, which I think is critical, especially if you're selling a coaching offer.
Yeah.
Because you have to, whatever you sell, I think the question to ask yourself is, are you willing to invest into that yourself? Have you invested into yourself? And, is this something that you would sell to your family or friends?
Absolutely. And it's a deeply psychological thing, right? Because in that moment of that person knowing that they want to go ahead, but can't quite muster the courage to step into that, your ability to go into that emotion of that person feeling and relate to them of how you've experienced exactly what they're experiencing right now, but it's the fucking same thing.
Yeah.
It's a massive amount of fear. They've got this higher self saying, this is what I want to do. And then got this other part of it and something that every single possible rationality of why they shouldn't do it, money, timing, doubt, all of the things, you have to be able to go into that space with them from a grounded place and lead them through that transformational journey. And you can only do that by I've done it yourself.
Yeah.
And I know that I was unable to do that for a long time. My business started improving massively when I actually understood I was a good salesperson, but I was only good when the sales going well. Closing wasn't my skill set. Because I realized that I was going through, I got sold in something, and it was the most uncomfortable thing in my whole life. I was working as a bartender. I'd quit my job in recruitment, moved to a town, become a bartender, and I was trying to build my coaching business. So I'd work the day, drive the bus to cheap accommodation, and then go to fill my business with any time I'm had.
Yeah.
And I sat there in this corridor in this hostel, and I spoke to a guy who had a £6,000 offer, right? And it was on the premise of, I'm going to teach you how to bring a high-ticket fitness behavior and high-ticket behavior change coach. Yeah, because I don't have the skill sets I need to be a good coach. I can think that. So my problem was that I don't know how to get results. It wasn't that I don't know how to sell. It was like, I'm not selling because I don't know how to get results. If I know how to get results, then I'll sell.
Yeah.
Right? And I sat there for about 10 minutes in silence. And he gave me the prize that I was looking at. It was £6,000. And I'm about fucking 500 quid to my name.
Yeah.
And I remember being the most uncomfortable I've ever been. And he basically called me out and was like, you going to fucking do it or what? Are you going to fucking do it? Like, are you going to bullshit yourself and tell you that you're all in, or are you actually going to be all in?
Yeah.
And it was the most uncomfortable thing that I ever felt. And it was silence. We just sat there literally for a Zuni.
And I said some resilience from him.
He's a master salesman, right? Yeah, mastered the art of sales. And I said yes. And it was £1,000 a month for 6 months. And I was like, I think it was like the only money I had. I think I've had £1,000.
Yeah.
So I give him £1,000. And it put me in debt. It put me under massive pressure, put me under loads of stress.
Yeah.
And I had this very negative, exactly you're looking back, shit, shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
It made me feel very uncomfortable. It made me feel resentful towards art. It made me resentful towards injection handling.
Yeah.
That whole space of being in the pocket with someone, of like post-pit, the injections, my ability to sit in that was basically wounded by the fact that I hated the fact of how I felt.
Yeah.
But then what that meant was I was unable to lead fecals through that discomfort because I knew it was the best decision for them. And I had to reframe that experience of like, I know, what were the benefits of that? If I'd never done that, I would never have started life coaching.
Wow.
I would never have transitioned from giving people fucking meal brands
Yeah.
to actually coaching.
Yeah.
I learned the art of coaching in that.
Yeah.
And then it led me into the coaching. I let him lead me into that. So like, if he hadn't put me in possibly the most uncomfortable situation that I've ever been in and got me to make a decision to invest an astronomical amount of money for me because I knew that I need to say yes to me, that I would never be where I'm at. See, I have reframed them. I'm so grateful they got to do that because without him on my journey, I wouldn't be here.
Powerful. Powerful.
And it's like, it's that level of raw emotion, visceral emotion that I can now say to them, but look, I fucking understand right now where you're at.
Yeah.
Is probably the hardest thing you're going to have to do. But you do have a choice.
Yeah.
You can say, fuck it, I'm in, it doesn't make sense, but I know in my heart that I'm going to make it work. I trust you that you're the person to fear. Or you don't, you fall into fear and you go off and you rationalize it and you don't move forward.
Yeah.
But my level of conviction now in my ability to serve that person is the secret. Yeah, I have so much fucking conviction in my service. You know it.
Yeah.
Like my clients love what I do because I get free time because I care so much. It's that if you say yes, I will do everything I can to get you that result within the constraint, within the offer.
Yeah.
But I have to be able to believe that. I had to reframe that to then go into those conversations to pitch with conviction, but then sit within that discomfort of, if I believe this person needs to make that decision, I would not give myself a fire exit and run out the door before they can make the decision.
Yeah.
I remember that, okay, cool, see you later, send the info.
But here's the thing, like what you just shared then, if he let you go there and think about it, you wouldn't have done it. Not at all, not a chance. And that's why it's really important to close on that call if they're a good fit and you genuinely know they can help you. But I think that's really good for you listening to this, of an experience where Ryan just shared that he really was scared to go ahead, because a lot of people will be scared to go ahead. But if you can be that person that gives them that belief, that gives them that faith, that pushes a little bit uncomfortably, as long as they're a right fit, then you can change lives. Like that sales guy has changed your life without him even realizing. So I think that's so
He knows. He knows. He knows. Is that why he was able to do it?
Yeah.
Because he had so much conviction in his service.
Yeah.
Yes, it put me in debt, but there's money, right? Money.
Yeah.
If money's a resource, money comes and goes.
Yeah.
That wasn't the actual problem, though. And I have so much respect for him now, and he's masterly built a 7-figure business by doing that.
Wow, nice.
Really cool guy, and like was very good at what he done because he had absolute conviction in his services.
Yeah, and that's what
you should do.
And I think that's the key, is conviction. And that's why as well, like you should check out, Ryan actually interviewed me on his Freedom Creator podcast, which you should check out. But I shared about an exercise to do to get yourself completely convicted in your offer so you can close more deals. And also, when you're on an interview, I rewind back to when you're looking for people, you want to be looking for people who are convicted in themselves.
Yeah.
I think that's critical.
Yeah, and then you have to come in and be like, right, I'm going to fucking make this work. We're going to make some fucking money. Yeah. And if I'm not working, I'm either learning the art of sales or figuring out ways that you can make more sales. I'm going to come back and say, this is what we should do. Bring you ideas. Look at your network. Bring feedback. Like, don't just show up, take the call and go home.
Yeah.
But come in with ideas and be like, we're a fucking team here. Yeah. We try this, we should try that, we try this, what about this, we try this. This was that feedback menu, could post this content. Oh, we've got a guy here who he's a bit over the fence. Is there anything you have for me so I can get him over the line? Like, yeah, it's that tenacity and that relentlessness to, within ethical constraint,
Yeah.
within ethical boundaries, but you seeing this role, and I said that to one of my friends, they're like, get in there and become indispensable.
Yeah.
Get in there and just give, become so so much of an asset to him beyond what he's paying you for,
Yeah.
so that you become an absolute pivotal role, so that the only person he's going to give more responsibility is you.
100%. And that's critical. And I've got one more question.
Yeah.
Before we wrap this amazing podcast, so I strongly recommend to rewatch this training, especially with what Ryan was sharing about reframing, because that is so, so powerful. But my final question for you, if you were to go back in time and with everything you know now, when you started in sales and sales or business, if you were to go back in time and erase all your personal brand, you have your knowledge, like what one piece of advice would you give to your younger self and to go out there and absolutely smash it?
Find something you believe in.
Boom. Wow.
Find something you fucking believe in, because if you believe in it, the belief is the biggest ambition.
Yes.
Because if you don't believe it, what you're selling are going to create the result in what you're promising in one fucking month. If you're not like, if you like, I look at that in the door knocking about, like, I wasn't on a momo.
No.
I didn't care about energy.
No.
So I'm like, and I think, and as you
I did it the other day.
yeah, you told me about your,
The best seller. I was, and I did very well for the company. I worked for the largest solar company in the UK, but I didn't do the best in the company. The one that was doing the best in the company was an advocate. He was in the newspaper. He had solar places.
solar.
Mr. Solar, like, he had that conviction and he invested in it as well. It's like,
I think that's from my common energy perspective, right? And it's like, even when my clients today, they're talking about meditation, it's like, be inspired. Like, whatever the thing is, you have to bring so much belief and passion and purpose and excitement and energy to whatever it is, because that is what we're raising people up to believe that's what they need as well. And the contrast of that, if you don't care, you don't believe in it, you're doing it for money, fucking stop doing it
yeah,
and find something you can, because there is so many opportunities out there. It's abundant. It is abundant. And it's like, it might be like you're passionate about football. All right, cool. Like, find some sort of sales role within the football industry. Like,
yeah.
it's like,
Or even the online PT industry, it's fitness, like just something that you are passionate about. If you love houses, real estate. If you love cars, car sales. If you love personal development, coaching.
and even that, it's like, find what you're passionate about, find a sales role within that space. Because that's, if you don't have a business idea, you don't have an offer, you don't have an experience that you can sell to people through a coaching and consultant route.
Yeah.
My number one best piece of advice I would speak to anyone is learn the art of sales, master the art of sales. During that time, explore your own passion and then explore parts of that which you could turn into your own offer. And then when you're ready, whether it be a year, 2, 5, 10 years, you can come in with it with absolute conviction, because you know the second you get someone into a sales conversation, you're going to fucking sell it.
Yeah. Boom. Wow. What an ending. I just want to say, so grateful. This podcast was insane. I love the fact the sales background that you had. And I want for the listeners, that how can they, get access to you? How can they find you, check you out, Ryan?
Yeah, so go to my Instagram. So my Instagram is _Ryan Herrington. Drop me a message on there and just message me the word Callum.
Yeah.
So I can see the podcast. But yeah, anything to do with online business sales is what we talk about. It's what we help people with. I've got a YouTube and my own podcast, Callum as a guest on. So be great to welcome you into my community. Yeah, thank you so much for listening.
It's all in the description as well. Get connected with Ryan. Me and Ryan are partnered together as well. So it's been an absolute privilege going on this journey together. And I'm grateful that Ryan's been able to share his sales wisdom with you. But other than that, we'll be seeing you on the next episode. Hasta luego.
Love it, no.
Unreal.
That was super.